Hi, this is Neil. So what is new this week? What's new is that there is a young lady, an Instagram model, Instagram influencer by the name of Belle, B-E-L-L-E, who is selling online jars of used bathwater, her bathwater apparently, for $30 a jar. And this is reported right here. I read in the Daily Mail. She is a young lady from the UK, as it happens, and this is quite a phenomenon. She has $4.5 million on Instagram. Sorry, million followers. We'll talk about the dollars in a little bit. She has 4.5 million followers on Instagram and apparently caters to what's known as the gamer community. Young boys in their mom's basement who play video games all day, and apparently they are interested in buying this bathwater for $30 a pop. So what do we think about that? There's a number of thoughts. First of all, I guess the obvious thought is this truly now the end of Western civilization? Like, is this the final death knell, and will future generations read about this incident where bottles of used bathwater were changing hands for $30 and things went downhill from there on in? Quite possibly. However, that was not the first thought that occurred to me. The first thought was, I wonder how this particular bathwater is being marketed. Is it organic? Is it naturally derived? Is there an ingredients list on the back? One could argue that it requires inky name listing, and you can imagine there's such things in there as lauryl sulfate, ammonium lauryl sulfate, sodium lauryl sulfate, ether sulfate, some non-ionic, some ethoxylates, hopefully some preservatives, maybe some hydantoins, perhaps some formalin even, or kathon or something like that. Coloring, fragrance undoubtedly in there. I would bet there are some silicones in there, and other organic materials, which I will leave to your imagination. So, you know, you could get to thinking about the inky name listing and the marketing and so forth, and that whole labeling and positioning thing. That was not, in fact, however, the most important thought about this whole thing that came to my mind. I really got to thinking about the business model and the economics of this venture. So again, it's bathwater, it's $30 a jar. It's used bathwater, that's very important. So let's think about the economics here. The time to actually make the bathwater is going to be about, let's say, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Let's give it half an hour for the young lady to draw a bath, have the bath, and finish up from the bath and generate the bathwater product. So there's let's say, generously speaking, a 30-minute process, and then what have you got at the end of that process? You've got your bulk bathwater. The average size, according to Google, of the average size of a UK bath, capacity of a UK bath is about 100 gallons. So let's assume that the bath was half full. I'm a half full bath kind of guy, and so you've got 50 gallons of bathwater, which is going to weigh about 400 pounds. So your bulk bathwater generated there is 400 pounds. If you consider that the water is sold in, let's say, roughly 6-ounce jars, a small 6-ounce glass jar of used Gamer Girl bathwater, then you have generated approximately 1,000 jars. 1,000 jars from your bath that you've just taken, and so you sell those retail price $30 a jar, then you've got $30,000. Not bad. $30,000 for 30 minutes work, half an hour's work. That's $1,000 a minute, which actually that's more than we pay our white shoe law firm there in New York. Actually, it's considerably more. That's $30,000 equating to $1,000 a minute, not $1,000 an hour. So $1,000 a minute, I think, or $60,000 an hour is not bad. I mean, it's not Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates type of money, but it's very, very respectable, and something perhaps about which you might get quite excited. Another way of looking at it is, so that's your dollars per minute, you know, you've got your $1,000 a minute value creation there. Another way to look at it is, all right, what's the gross margin? You know, you've spent some, in addition to the time, you've spent some energy heating the water. Not a lot to heat a bathtub full of water. Let's give it a dollar at the most. Your packaging is going to be about, and I've looked into this, so that's why I keep glancing at my notes. Your packaging is going to be, best case, or most conservative case, I should say, about another dollar per jar. So you've got $1 for the bathtub. That's, you know, that's cents per jar. You got $1 for the jar. So let's say it's like $1.10 for heating the water, and then and buying the jar. Shipping's going to be your most important. UK parcel post shipping rates are actually quite expensive. So to get that jar to most parts of the UK is going to be about $4.50. So total cost there, shipping $4.50. The jar itself, $5.50. Heating, let's call it then $5.60. I'm not sure what else. A few other odds and ends. Let's call that another 40 cents. Round numbers. You've put in $6 a jar, but you're selling it for $30. So you've got a $24 dollar per jar unit gross margin, or 24 over 30. Whatever that is, that's a lot. That is a substantial gross margin. Yeah, very exciting business model on the face of it. But let's dig a little deeper. Coming back to the economics of the bathtub, our Instagram influencer takes a bath and generates $30,000 worth of revenue from the output and the proceeds of that bath. But to do that, she's got to sell and ship 1,000 jars. So if this was done evenly over a period of time, which apparently it wasn't, because there was a bit of a rush for the jars, but never mind. If you take those 1,000 jars, that's roughly speaking 4 jars a week that you've got to dispatch to your avid customers in Gamerland. 4 jars a week, it means 4 trips to the post office, 4 sets of sitting down and wrapping these down jars, and addressing the labels, and taking the order, and dealing with the inevitable complaints of, you know, that my mom opened the bath water before I could take it down to the basement, things like that. And to me, it sounds like an awful lot of time and energy and hassle. I mean, you know, for a millennial, I guess this qualifies as a millennial, I don't know. For a young person to go to the post office in and of itself is, to me, perhaps an insurmountable barrier. So, you know, to me, this is a lot of work for, at the end of the day, $30,000, which, judging by this young lady's wardrobe bills and hairdressing bills, is really barely going to cover overhead, right? As I glance at the Daily Mail article. So, to me, but the business model's flawed. She's selling herself short, selling herself too cheaply, selling her bathwater too cheaply. And of course, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Neil, she's an Instagram influencer. Of course, she's selling herself short. Maybe, but to me, it's, you know, after the initial excitement of, wow, $1,000 a minute and a gajillion % gross margin, the cold reality is it's just a waste of time. The opportunity cost of making this work is just too great. And I guess there's maybe a message in there, or a lesson in there for some of us with respect to how we run our businesses. In that, I think there's been many times when we've been so excited about what appears to be an incredible gross margin or an incredible return on a very small investment in time. And when you really sit down and fully evaluate, you know, what's involved in executing this business plan and what's truly the return set against opportunity cost rather than actual cost, it's pretty disappointing. Unfortunately, a lot of the time we get much further down that road than I've gone down in terms of actually, taking the bath and bottling the water and making the trips to the post office before we realize that it's just not a great business. And so I think there's a cautionary tale there. How could this business be made better? I'm not sure. I think the first thing is, sell the jars at a reasonable price, $300, $3,000. I mean, obviously the market is going to be a little smaller, but I think, testing the market in that regard has got to be worthwhile doing. And really understanding is this a business you should be in the first place. When I first looked at this story, 4.5 million followers on Instagram looks great, sounds great. A lot of followers, right? I mean, I think I have what is it, 1,000 or something people on LinkedIn. I don't know, 4.5 million sounds a lot to me. As I look at the Instagram rankings, however, on a handy site called Trackalytics, which I'm looking at right now, our Bell at 4.5 million followers is ranked number 1,856, which, I don't know. Is that good? Not sure. It's certainly not top 10. She's right in there in that group, which includes John Mayer, remember him, at 1,851 followers on Instagram, and various folks who look like they make a living from their looks. I'll say no more. That's most of them. There's a Korean boy band singer called BTS Sugar, who I don't think makes a living from his looks. The Chicago Bulls there have 1,873 followers on Instagram, but that's okay. They make their living doing other things. Anyone want to hazard a guess as to who has the most followers on Instagram? You'll never guess. I'll give you a clue. This person resides in Portugal. Now I think some of you may have guessed. It's Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer player with 176 million followers, substantially more than our gamer girl. And he is followed by Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson at 150 million. And only then do we get to Kim Kardashian, a paltry number 6 with 144 million followers. Closely followed by Kylie Jenner, her stepsister, I'm not sure. Anyway, and then we get into more Kardashians and some folks, Justin Bieber, etc. People you all know very, very well. So I guess to really make the big time, you got to be up in the hundreds of millions. And maybe then you can charge a decent price for your bath water. Probably have someone else take the bath for you. Anyway, that's what's new, and that's what I learned from it. Some other things that are new, maybe we'll talk about those in the next video, surfactant-wise, not bathwater related.